It's tough to bet on Kansas year in and year out, but when Lance Leipold is running that program, you get a little bit more hope. Now, when people we're talking about Les Miles at Kansas and how they could be better, it was very interesting, but I guess, didn't really feel like it was a good fit. You didn't feel like it was going to go anywhere, and that's really where things kind of started in terms of the downhill fall. Now, Lance Leipold, I think, is a better program builder. I think he is trying to build Kansas into at least a respectable team in the Big 12, and it's not going to happen overnight. Now, the team they have this year, there are some really exciting pieces, something we haven't really seen from a Kansas team, at least at this quantity. When you look at previous teams, at least in recent past, you haven't really seen a ton of depth or a ton of excitement outside of maybe one or two guys. This year is different. Safety Kenny Logan comes in after having a 110 tackle year, 4 tackles for loss, 6 passes defended. It's not a good thing usually when your safety is your leading tackler. When you have a guy who has 100 tackles, you expect him to be your linebacker, because that typically it's not good to have that many tackles, especially at safety. You're looking at, when you're asking your safety to make plays, it's because you have the flexibility to do so. A lot of times you want them to make sure that they're cleaning things up near the line of scrimmage, but with Kansas, most of the time it's 5 to 10 yards downfield. Now, Kenny Logan is more than capable of doing that, and it's very exciting to have him back. It just comes down to, can the front 7 do their part? And I think they can this year with the talent that they have coming back and added in the transfer portal. Center Mike Novitsky was a staple in the Buffalo offense when he was playing for Lance Leipold, when Leipold was running the Bulls, and now he gets to do the same at Kansas. He had a great year last year. He's proven to be already a leader on this program, and while the offensive line has some things to figure out, Novitsky is the perfect leader for that group. The ability to keep guys calm, work with the quarterbacks behind him, and get everybody in place is a huge thing that people don't really talk about. And he's a guy that's going to really help the culture as well as the play on the field. Lonnie Phelps comes from Miami of Ohio, and he had a big year last year. 13.5 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks. This is a man that you want on the edge. Someone that can be that dominant force, who can take away maybe one side of the field at times. And he's going to face good competition in the Big 12. There are a lot of offensive linemen that are probably going pro or are going to be all conference type talent, that kind of stuff. This is going to be a good test for him. MAC competition isn't what the Big 12 is, but Lonnie Phelps is a player that can handle that transition, and the defense really is going to benefit from having him on the line. And when you look at what we talked about before with Kenny Logan, you want your offensive or defensive line to be able to handle things up front, so that if anything, the safety just needs to fill and make the tackle at or near the line of scrimmage instead of, like I said, 5 to 10 yards downfield. The running backs for Kansas, even just the backfield in general, is super exciting. There's so much potential in terms of explosiveness and just production. When you start with Devin, Neal, it really emerged at the end of the season, 707 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's a reliable back, and you put him back in the offense. He has a full year of experience almost under his belt, and that's really exciting. And you're going to pair him with another guy who, again, came on towards the end of this year, and we'll talk about him in a second. But Devin, Neal is going to be exciting. He's going to be that back that can get things done for you. And then when he needs a break, you look at the next guy. That next guy being Kai Thomas. You're looking at a Minnesota running back coming into Kansas, and after multiple injuries to the Minnesota backfield, he took over as the starter. 166 carries for 824 yards and 6 touchdowns. Just another reliable player. Neal averaged 4.5 yards per carry. Thomas is sitting at 5. That's exactly the kind of chunks that you need. And when you look at what Lance Leipold produced at Buffalo, Jarrett Patterson was one of the best running backs in college football. Kevin Marks, when he was healthy, was another great back behind Patterson. That's the kind of two-headed monster that Kansas hopes they can find this year. And when you look at the talent they have at the position, There's no reason to believe that they're not going to be able to achieve that. Eriq Gilyard comes in from UCF. Kind of had a couple down years for various reasons, but in 2019, 59 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss. He's a playmaker. He knows how to get to the football, and he's going to join another linebacker that we'll talk about in a second. His ceiling is so good. I think that when he's healthy, if he's on the field, this is a playmaker that can make an impact on the game. And when you're talking about, again, we mentioned that front seven needing to be better. This is a guy you bring in that's going to help you achieve that. Jalon Daniels took over as the starting quarterback late in the year. He helped beat Texas. You look at 69.2% completion percentage in limited time. Take that with a grain of salt. Threw 7 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He's going to have to work on that ratio. If he's going to be the starter the entire year, he's still going to have to hold off a guy we'll talk about towards the end here. But this is a player who I like what they can do in the backfield. You pair him with Neal and Thomas. That's an exciting backfield, even for Kansas. A lot of times you're just thinking, oh, well, this isn't the most talented group. This is a group that can be very exciting. And it's still, here's the thing, it may not be the most exciting team. This still might be a team that struggles in the Big 12. But when you look at the preseason, this is about as deep of a group as we've seen from Kansas in a while, and that includes the quarterback position for what seems like the first time in a while. Trevor Wilson will add to that excitement. 364 yards, 13.5 yards per catch, only 1 touchdown, but now he gets a chance to step up. There's a couple guys gone, and now he is a guy that can step up and be maybe the go-to receiver for the quarterbacks. When you're looking at the passing game, Andrew Parchment a couple years ago was a guy that I really liked, and he obviously had a good year and then went to Florida State. Now Trevor Wilson could be that guy, can step up and be the go-to receiver. We'll see what happens with that, but there's definitely some potential at wide receiver as well. Rich Miller returns as the leading tackler in terms of the returners at linebacker. At 79 tackles last year, 5 tackles for loss. The pairing of him and Gilyard is an exciting one if you're a Kansas fan. You're looking at 2 guys that know how to make plays, to know how to get to the football. And if the front 7 is even a little bit better, you're going to see those tackles for loss and sacks go up even a little bit. And that's something that's going to be a huge addition to this defense and one that is going to help their success in terms of slowing teams down on the opposite side of the ball. Jason Bean was the starter last year to begin the season, and he's got explosive playmaking ability. When you look at what he's done at 400 yards rushing, 4.3 yards per carry doesn't exactly scream explosive potential, but when you watch some of his big plays, he's capable of running past nearly anyone. And that's something that this offense could use, but they also need the passing. So when you look at his completion percentage, 56.4, only 6 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Doesn't matter if you're explosive if you're not good throwing the football, if you're not efficient getting the ball to your receivers. Jason Bean had a chance to do that. Jalon Daniels took over. And honestly, even if Bean is back in the starting lineup, this is an offense that has potential. The front 7 of the defense also has that potential, and really comes down to quarterback play and whether or not that front 7 can handle life in the Big 12.